Hello, welcome to October. I am so excited for this month because I am extremely close to reaching Audible TBR 0. I feel like I have climbed a mountain and I can finally see the summit. It's right there, over there. There's going to be a beautiful view once I've arrived, and yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to be so relieved when I can finally log into my account on the computer, spend my 6 credits that I have outstanding on books which I cannot get through the library. I'm going to try and find things that are expensive, like maybe some academic or business books that are usually really pricey. Or obscure things that I'm unlikely to find in a charity shop, I'm gonna spend my money, my credits even, and then cancel my subscription. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a lovely moment. I started the month, which was only yesterday, with 7 books left on Audible. I DNF'd one before work whilst getting ready for work. And then I finished reading Christmas at the Gingerbread Inn by Michelle Stimpson, who is an author I'd read before. I read 1 or 2 other Christmas books by her last year. Yes, it is early to be reading Christmas books in October, but I did also read one in September, so I've checked, and it was 2 other books that I listened to last year by this author. All I Want for Christmas, which I think was the one set around a hospital, and Let It Snow, which was set in an airport where nobody can get home for Christmas, and the love interests bring Christmas joy to all the people. And this was just as wholesome. It's set in Martha's Vineyard, and there's this lovely community. And yeah, it's about a woman who wants to be a cellist, but she feels like she has to take on the inn that her parents have just retired from running because it's their legacy. And her love interest used to stay at the inn with his family when he was a kid, and almost kissed her before they got interrupted by family members, but he hasn't stayed there in a long time, and his mum died, and now he's come back to kind of relive those Christmas memories with his family, but on his own. So they have some stuff going on, and they are just so cute and lovely and supportive of each other from the very beginning. It's they just click from the start, and it's really nice kind of seeing that develop over time. If you want a very lovely, cozy romance, this is the one for you. And then I started reading Breath by Breath, The Liberating Practice of Insight Meditation. Now, this is a book that I only read because it was on Audible and on the Plus catalogue and free, because it's about meditation, and I'd never read a book about meditation before. I'd watched lots of videos, I've obviously tried meditating, and I have this book on mindfulness, which I've been trying to get through, but every time I pick it up, it makes me really angry. And I think it's just the way this book is. It's very sort of mindfulness as the cure to all of your problems, and it just feels too much like the kind of corporate brand of mindfulness that gets promoted a lot in workplace webinars. I have not got on with this mindfulness book. I decided to give mindfulness a chance and read this book to learn more about it, and I didn't like it. But this book about insight meditation, it was what I was looking for, really. A book that talks about meditation and mindfulness and explains the ideas behind it in Buddhism without making it feel like it's a cure-all for everything. This just talked about the personal benefits that you can gain, and kind of the stages that one might go through when practicing meditation. And it was just really, really interesting. Like, I kind of thought I would DNF it, to be honest. I started off and I thought, I might listen to this for like 10 minutes, give it a chance. It's on there. I put it on the list. I can't get it from the library and I can't get it from Spotify. So I'm going to give it a go. And I thought like 2 minutes in, like, I think I'm going to DNF this, but I'll listen to it a little bit more. And then like 10 minutes in, I kind of thought, yeah, I'm going to DNF this. Because like intellectually I thought I should DNF it, because I was like, but I'm not that interested in Buddhism, and I'm not that interested in like the ideas of mindfulness and meditation, but I didn't want to, because I found it really compelling. Like, I had this little war going on in my head where part of me was like, you should DNF this is not your thing right now. Another part of me was like, but I'm actually enjoying it though. And so I was like, okay, I'll listen to it a little bit longer, right? And at the point where I decided I'm not getting anything out of it, then I would DNF it. And I never did. I listened to the entire thing. And it's talking about this quite specific, like, Buddhist text, and this process that was outlined by the Buddha for meditation. And so there's some stuff that, like, I had to Google, and there's some more stuff afterwards that I think I have to Google to fully appreciate what he was talking about. But at the same time, it was very down to earth and it was very practical. Like, I've come out of it and I actually feel like I want to do more meditation. Like, it's actually convinced me that I should do more meditation. You know, some of the things that he says talking about the way the mind works, I was like, okay, that doesn't apply to me. That's not how I think. Maybe that's just me being neurospicy rather than neurotypical. And he's coming at it from a neurotypical point of view. But at the same time, like, I was convinced by his description of the process. So yeah, did I even say what the book was called? Breath by Breath by Larry Rosenberg. It was published in the 90s, if I remember correctly, from when they did the little copyright bit at the end of the audio. But yeah, not put onto Audible till, I think, last decade. So yeah, it's been around a while. But yeah, I can see why it has endured, because yeah, I found it really, really compelling, despite not being a very experienced meditator, not having really any particular interest in Buddhism over other religions. Yeah, it's just worked for me. So yeah, now I am only 4 books away from Audible TBR 0. It's going to be incredible to have that off my plate. Yeah, I have a handful of books left, just the 4. So yeah, I am hoping that I will have listened to them all before the 13th, because the 13th is my Audible subscription renewal date. So I want to be cancelling by the 12th at the absolute latest. But none of these things are very long. One of them isn't even a book, or 2 of them aren't books. Like, I think one of them is a Great Courses thing. Yeah, no, 3 of them are books. One of them is a Great Courses thing that I'm already partway through. But it's the Great Courses, the Art of Storytelling from Parents to Professionals. And the way that the lecturer talks about storytelling is really, really good. And I've been taking loads of notes. So although I started it a couple of weeks ago, I haven't been going through it as fast as I thought I would, because I keep stopping to take notes. You know, I want to kind of hold on to that knowledge after listening. So yeah. Then I have, 2 very short books, which will only take me a couple of hours to listen to. And then one longer one, which might take me like 4 hours to listen to. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm so close. I don't have a print book on the go at the moment. Like, apart from ones that I've paused. I always have this currently reading pile of books that I'm working through very, very slowly. There's a couple of print books and there's a couple of ebooks on Kindle, which I just only pick up on occasions where I don't have a book. like the Kindle ones, and there's the books that I have at home where I've started them and I mean to carry on with them and I just haven't, because I keep like prioritizing other things. But yeah, there we go. I do not have an Liberating book on the go at the moment. I'm kind of debating over which one I'm going to go for next, but I should be able to start it tomorrow because I am working from home. So I feel like I probably won't have time in the morning because I'm probably going to sleep till right before work because I forgot to take my medication, which makes me drowsy for like 12 hours until too late. I should have taken it before dinner as soon as I got in from work, but I did not. I forgot, and so I didn't take it till nearly 9 o'clock. So I'm probably going to be sleepy till nearly 9 o'clock. Not what I wanted, but hey, it's the next day. I will try and remember to take it at 7:30 tomorrow so I can be awake in good time before work. But hey, here we go. We'll see. It has been making me less drowsy as the days have gone on since I started taking it. So hopefully, you never know, this could be a breakthrough in the drowsiness. We'll see. Anyway, I am going to go get ready for bed and start my next audiobook, I guess. Hello, I'm back. It's a week later, and 3 things have happened. Number 1, I cut my hair. I always have a sort of mini crisis after I have my annual big chop. I have to have an annual big chop. I can't grow my hair longer than like here because it just starts falling out if I do that. And so I have an annual big chop where I chop off like 4 inches and then it has time to grow back. You may be looking at this thinking, oh, that's still quite long, but it feels short to me. And I always have this little crisis after I've cut it where I'm like, I miss my long hair. Why didn't I keep my long hair? Or just cut off 1 inch, which barely would have noticed. But then what always happens is after 2 days I was like, yeah, no, I love it. This is my autumnal look. Yeah, so yeah, I go from crisis to loving it quite quickly. And then it very, very slowly grows long again over months. And yeah, I convinced myself to do it every year by saying, look, the sooner you cut it, the longer it will get to be in the summer before you have to cut it off again. The more you'll get to enjoy long hair. So yeah, there we go. But yeah, you're probably looking at this thinking there's barely any difference, but I swear to God, it was down to here. If you wind back a bit and watch that earlier bit again, you'll see the difference. Anyway, the second thing that happened is I read Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood. This is a Liberating book. It is a book that's sort of set decades after the events of the Odyssey. So it's sort of like, oh, the consequence of the events of the Odyssey. These are the kind of the characters who have to deal with it. The protagonist, the main point of view character, was supposed to be sacrificed to the sea to keep the sea god happy and stop him from flooding her island. But she escapes and then gets caught again, and then some magic happens, and yeah, I really can't talk about this book without spoiling it, but I really enjoyed it. It is a YA book. So yeah, definitely one for anybody who likes YA and is into mythology, or if you know a teenager who's into mythology, maybe get this. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. And then the third thing that happened is, you can guess from my smile, probably. I reached Audible TBR 0. I feel like I should add a sound effect in of like applause, but I'm gonna applaud myself here just in case I can't find one. I probably can find one. Yeah, I did it. I reached Audible TBR 0. Who would have thought this day would actually come? So the first book I finished listening to as I approached Audible TBR 0 was In Her Voice, the 2020 poetry anthology, Jacaranda 20 in 2020. So basically it was it's an anthology recording of 5 different poetry collections. And they were all really good. I really enjoyed listening to it. But my favourite was Jamaica by Brenda Garrick, which is basically a lot of poetry that sort of makes references to Shakespeare, largely in Jamaican patois. I will admit that I am obviously biased towards the Jamaican book because my best friend's family are Jamaican. So I'm obviously like have like a strong like, I guess like emotional attachment to like whenever anything Jamaican comes up in a book. I just think of her, and so I think I'm like predisposed to love it. But it was so good. It was like cutting and funny and interesting all at the same time. And yeah, the other collections were good too, but that was my favourite, so I thought I would especially mention that. Then I finished listening to Octavia's Brood, science fiction stories from social justice movements. This was a really interesting one. So it's quite a long book. I think it was like 11 hours, like all in. And it is an anthology of short stories. But I think a number of the writers had never written like anything for publication before that was fiction. They normally are activists or like non-fiction writers, and so it was really like, it was really interesting because there were some really like interesting ideas explored in the book that I hadn't like seen before played out in fiction, and that was really inspirational. Some of the stories, like, they didn't feel like they had a proper ending, they just kind of stopped. Others were like the intro to a novel that I now desperately want to read. There were some of these which are just like, the world building was absolutely incredible, and so I just wanted the story to carry on, and then when it suddenly stopped I was like, oh. I think my favourite was probably was it called The Memory Keepers? I'm gonna look at the description and see if it mentions any of the titles. This is the problem because I don't have access to the Audible book anymore. I can't check the I can't check what the chapter titles were, which were obviously the titles of the short story, and so yeah, I can't check. And I went through all the reviews before, and only a couple of them had like names mentioned, so it will take me forever to double check what this story was called. But yeah, I think it was called The Memory Keepers, and basically it's set in a world where there's like a collective memory, but only certain people can like access it and process it in their heads, and they're trained like to do this. And they are librarians, and the libraries are like these really important institutions. But the story is basically about what happens when a politician decides to like undermine the authority of the libraries and the librarians, and basically erase or like hide away the memory so that he can declare war on some other country. It was some sort of atrocity. I can't remember now exactly what it is. It was basically committing an atrocity on some people from another nation. And like the librarians were against this because they had access to the memory of what happened the last time this was done. And basically the whole idea of this collective memory is to stop people making mistakes and committing atrocities. You know, to realise that there were really bad consequences for some acts of war, basically. But yeah, he aims to undermine this, and sort of like kidnaps all the librarians and puts them in a basically like prison camp. And it's just like it's a really powerful ending, but at the same time I wanted to read more of the book. I was just so swept up in this world with this collective memory. It was such an interesting concept, but where's the rest of the book, you know? So yeah, I enjoyed it, but there were some moments of frustration when I wanted to read the rest of the book. There was also this I really do not remember what this one was called at all, but there was a really great story about basically what it seemed to be was that disabled people got sent away from their home planet to live on a different one. It was sort of like a disabled person colony, and like they were expected to just kind of be abandoned, like die, but they created their own world, which is better than the one they were in before, and they're really happy there. Until like a note with like a baby who gets sent there reveals that like the people from their home world are going to come to theirs, like maybe they've destroyed it or something. And it was just really interesting, like the idea of that, like yeah, people being kind of forced away from their homes, but creating a better home out of the what they have, the situation, each other, working together. Oh, loved it. Anyway, I loved these books. And then I finished a great course that I was listening to, storytelling from parents and professionals. Great, wrote a whole load more notes, loved it. And then I was done. I kind of knew that I was going to be done this month because I got the number down so low. So last Thursday, I think it was, I spent all my credits. And yeah, I just had to read. I cancelled in advance and I just had to listen to those books, and then I was done. And something strange happened. Well, I now have realised, after thinking about it in the back of my mind for several hours, I was at the gym and having some soup and all kinds of things. Yeah, I thought, okay, I'll be free from Audible. I just go straight on, cracking on with those print books. I will read so much, and that is not what happened. No, I was just not feeling inclined to read, doing those other things, and I realised what it is. I have been cured of my executive dysfunction. So I get super bad executive dysfunction where where I can't do half the thing on my to-do list because they just seem like the most difficult, exhausting, impossible things. It's like I'm Sisyphus, except instead of trying to shove the rock up the hill, I'm just staring at it at the bottom. I'm just like, nah. I can't even move that an inch. I am not going to get that up that hill. Like, absolutely not. And yeah, that's what happens to me whenever I'm like really tired. I'm over focused on one thing. I feel like I just don't have any time, and I have been tired for a long time because I have had chronic health problems. And so like, there have been very rare times where I've been able to get on to some of the stuff that's been on my to-do list for ages. Because I'm just so exhausted with just like everyday life. It's just too much for my brain, you know. It's been writing, TBR 0, work, cleaning my house, what's for dinner, like that kind of thing. And it has got better over the last couple of months because I finally had some treatment for one of my problems. And for like the last 3 weeks, I've been taking medication, which has helped me sleep. It's made me super drowsy in the evening though. So it's ended up with me having even less time in a way. And so I've just been really up and down with executive dysfunction. And I realised earlier, like not even that much earlier, like an hour ago probably, that the unintended consequence of me getting Audible off my plate is that my executive dysfunction has gone away. I have done so much stuff that was on my to-do list for ages. I can't even tell you. Like literally finished Audible Sunday. What did I even do on Sunday? I can't remember now. I probably just watched a lot of YouTube. I went to the gym, I think. No, I tell a lie. I tried to work out at home, but my knee hurt. And then I sat on the sofa and I was so drowsy I couldn't do anything other than look at my phone. That's what happened on Sunday. This medication has just made me like often so drowsy in the evening that I cannot remember my to-do list at all. And I just sit there and I play games on my phone or scroll through social media. It's terrible. I'm so grateful to have this medication because I've slept so much better and I feel better than I have in ages, but at the same time so drowsy. My God. Like I take the medication at like 7:30, 8, so that I'm not drowsy by the time I wake up in the morning. And yeah, by like 9 o'clock I'm useless. It's nearly 10 now. I have managed to push through. I've managed to push through extreme self-discipline. My God. Anyway, got Audible off my plate. Had like that, had that day of just kind of lazing around. Monday, after work, I opened up my spreadsheet with all the things I need to do on it, and I just started doing them. I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to tick all these off. What? And this is like stuff that I just haven't done for ages because I just felt like I didn't have the scrap of energy required. to do them. So like in like one evening, I renewed my passport. I placed like an order from Boots. I placed order for new contact lenses because I'd run out of contact lenses. I placed God, I think I ordered some other stuff as well, but I can't remember what. Yeah, I just like went through. I did like all of the computer-based chores, and yeah, Sunday I'd cleaned. What room did I clean on Sunday? The bathroom. So yeah, I'd cleaned the bathroom. So I was free to just do computer-based stuff that I've been putting on for ages, and it was just like ding, 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 ding. And then I also did some mending. So I have this massive bag of clothes which have like tiny mends, like literally like a seam is like popped undone in one really small place. Or like there are a pair of my partner's jeans which just need some like zigzag stitching to like reinforce a bit that's got a bit of fin or something. All this stuff. I had these massive like one of those IKEA bags like full of them, and I just started doing it. For some reason it was like whatever it was that was stopping me from going downstairs, turning the sewing machine on and just blitzing all the stuff that could be done on the sewing machine, which makes doing these things incredibly quick, like 2-minute jobs, was gone. Whatever it was that was stopping me, it was just gone. I had executive function again. I was able to go downstairs, get out my sewing machine, set it up, which only takes like a few minutes, but had felt like the biggest mountain in the world to me before. I just literally couldn't do it. I just did not have the brain power to do it. Yeah, I just did it. I've done so much mending since. It's ridiculous. I've probably mended like 25 things. In the last few days. So anyway, my executive dysfunction has gone away. So I've been doing all of these things because I'm suddenly inclined to do them and get them off my plate. And it feels great. I'm not reading. I'm not reading. So I think either Sunday or Monday I started reading Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. And I read little bits in a couple of bursts and have not touched it since because I've been doing all of this stuff. And I was feeling really guilty about it, but I realised it's only Wednesday. It's Wednesday today. I finished Audible on Saturday. I feel like I should cut myself some slack for like finally having the executive function to do all this stuff that's been on my to-do list forever. But at the same time, I'm like, I've got to crack on with these Illumicrate books. So I'm never going to finish these Illumicrate books. I've got to read these Illumicrate books. So yeah, I've been kind of like beating myself up a bit about that. But I think I'm going to give myself some slack, right? Like I just finished a big project and I'm really happy about it. I should bask in that for a moment and not immediately start beating myself up about the fact that I have not already finished like 2 Illumicrate books since finishing Audible. So there, that's where I'm at. I have finished Audible, but I have not read a ton more because it's only been 4 days and my executive function is functioning. So I've been wanting to do all of the things while I feel inclined to do all of the things. In fact, I feel like it's like executive function goes into overdrive. Because it's not even like my executive function's cured. It's like my executive function's cured and I'm now going to do every single one of the things. Like right now, I want to go downstairs and sew some more stuff. But I'm like, no, I need to go to bed. I need to do another thing and then I need to go to bed. And yeah, the sewing will have to wait until Friday. I have not planned next week yet. That's something I usually do on Thursdays. Like I plan from Friday onwards, including the weekend on a Thursday. And yeah, not done that yet. Won't be doing that tomorrow because I have work and then a choir rehearsal. It's going to be a very busy day. So I'm not expecting much progress on the old books, but we'll see. I have been listening to an audiobook, Specials by Scott Westerfeld, which long-time viewers with extremely good memories might know, just might, that I started listening to that ages ago on Spotify because I read the first 2 in the Ugly series and then I have the 4th one in hard copy as well, but I don't have that 3rd one. So I started listening to it on Spotify ages ago and then I paused it to concentrate on the Audible stuff and now I've picked it up again. And the problem is I don't want to finish it because I don't want this to use up one of my slots. So I keep like, I have nothing else to do when I'm out and about, and I keep putting it on, listening to a bit, and then being like, as soon as I get home, like, I would naturally just continue listening to it, but I'm like, no, none of that, no listening to that. You don't want to be listening to that, because you've got to finish Godkiller, so then you can read the book that you decided you were going to read, as a reward book for that one. Yeah, but yeah, I try not to get too ahead on the reward books compared to like the books I've got to read to win them, but who knows? I may end up finishing specials tomorrow because I'm going into the office and that means commute time. So yeah, the nicest thing I can possibly do on a commute is listen to an audiobook, so that's just how it is. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, I will hopefully update you at the weekend, and hopefully I will have made some progress on Godkiller, and hopefully I will not finish specials, and hopefully my executive function will still be functioning and I'll be able to vlog. Hello. It's a while later. It's now the 30th of October, and I have massively fallen off the wagon. Yeah, I'm now like 4 or 5 books behind on my TBR books versus non-TBR books. This happened for good reason. So I'm gonna tell you what happened. So I think it all started when I finished specials. I just couldn't help myself. Yeah, I think I was going to the gym and stuff, and I just ended up finishing it. I think after one gym session, I had like 5 minutes left of the book to finish, and you know, after that it was inevitable really. I had to finish the book. So yeah, I finished it. Yeah, then I did, to be fair to myself, finish Godkiller. So the weekend before last, I finished it, I think on the Saturday morning. Like, I just kind of decided I was going to lie in bed and read until I finished it, and then once I'd read that, I then read Keedie by Elle McNicoll, and then, because I'd finished specials, I had to start another audiobook on Spotify to make sure that I could use up the remaining free audiobook hours for the month. And I started Sword in the Stars by A.R. Capetta and Cory McCarthy, which is the sequel to Once and Future, which I read earlier in the year. That was one of the Illumicrate books, so that was sort of a follow-up to a TBR book, but obviously not a TBR book itself. Then, thank God, I actually read a TBR book, or finished one rather. I finished Mindfulness, Plain and Simple, which was a book that I'd picked up about mindfulness, because I'd always been sceptical of the concept of mindfulness. I am still sceptical of the way mindfulness is presented in these kind of books. I thought about this a lot, and I think essentially the issue is that there's nothing wrong with meditation, there's nothing wrong with mindfulness. What I find problematic is when these books say things like all suffering in the world is caused by human faults, which is only kind of part of the equation. So earlier in the month, Breath by Breath by Rosenberg, that I read about insight meditation, kind of talked about this, but made it clear to me that the Buddhist point of view, which is where mindfulness and meditation kind of comes from, is that yes, the human brain is responsible for suffering, but this isn't a thing that one person can fix. What needs to happen is that more people need to meditate, and then we'll be able to move past, as a species, all of the war and destruction and misery that we inflict on each other. Now, the problem with books like this mindfulness book is that they don't mention that part. It's literally just the part where faults create human misery, and not the part where it's a collective responsibility to solve this problem. And that makes it out like you can fix every bad feeling that you have by doing mindfulness, which is not the case, because like, you do mindfulness, if your life is still bad, your life is still bad. You can have a little moment But it's not going to fix the problem. It's just completely unrealistic. And the problem is, books like this do not mention that part. They do not mention that part, that it's supposed to be a collective effort on the part of mankind, you know, that we're supposed to be getting more people to do this, and then collectively we will move beyond war and destruction and misery. No, it doesn't do that. It just says that faults are behind human suffering, which is a very individualistic take on it, and also makes it out like you're causing your own misery, and if you don't do mindfulness, then your misery is your fault, basically, and that you can overcome your misery just by doing mindfulness and nothing else, you know. This is why I had such a negative view of mindfulness before, because I had only kind of heard of it in these corporate contexts where it was like, oh, we're causing stress for you, or you're going through a stressful time because of a pandemic. Here's some mindfulness classes we've arranged, or here's some training on mindfulness. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to solve the problem though. But yeah, it's like, it's billed as like a self-care technique without acknowledging that you wouldn't need to do this kind of self-care if the company wasn't causing these problems. So yeah, I think that I have a massive problem with books like this, which are intended for beginners and only include part of the equation. Yeah, so there we are. Having learned the actual ideas from Buddhism behind it, this book was not for me because of that, shall we say. And I feel like if I give it away, I should like add a note in about, you know, the actual Buddhist ideas and why this book is a missing part of the story. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. And then unfortunately after that I finished another audiobook. I finished In Search of Berlin, the story of a reinvented city by John Kampfner. So this is a book about the history of Berlin as a city. It's broadly linear, chronological. It does jump around a little bit. Sometimes there's like a theme, and he will kind of like call back or call forward to different time periods. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And I kind of expected this. I enjoyed the more recent history details a lot more than the more sort of far-flung bits. I think why this is because in those kind of earlier history chapters, there's a lot of focus on kings, basically. And I don't find royalty very interesting. I mean, not generally, you know. Occasionally, there's an interesting figure, and there was a little bit about Catherine the Great, which was interesting, but it was very brief. I find more interesting kind of ordinary people, writers, thinkers, scientists, artists, you know, and that kind of stuff doesn't really kick in till later on. You know, in a world where only the very, very privileged had an education, the general public weren't doing that much interesting stuff, you know, they were just surviving. So it's only later on when things start to become more equal that you kind of get those kind of people who are ordinary but doing interesting things. So yeah, I was expecting to enjoy the more recent history more, and I did. But yeah, good book. Then I read The Paper and Heart Society by Lucy Powrie. Lucy is someone I've been aware of for like probably, yeah, it's got to be over 10 years at this point. She used to run UKYA chat on Twitter back in the day. And yeah, she was blogging from quite a young age, and I just never got around to reading this book, which is the first in her series. And I enjoyed it a lot. It's about I think she's a 15-year-old girl who moves to a new town. She's living with her gran for the summer to basically get away from where she lived before, because she was being bullied by a girl who she used to be best friends with. And she's kind of been just lying around the house by herself reading and stuff. And then her gran suggests that she goes to the library. While she's in the library, she finds a flyer for a book club. It's a book club for teenagers, so she really want to go. Like she picks up the flyer, she takes it home, and she kind of, yeah, she wants to go but she doesn't want to go, and her gran sort of insists she has to go. And what I really enjoyed about it was that at first she is super reluctant, and that isn't magically overcome. You know, she doesn't meet these people and just like fall in love with all of them and like, yeah, bond from the start. It's a slow burn friendship, and that I thought was really nice and really realistic. But it's also really realistic, I think, about bullying and friendships that turn abusive. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. But unfortunately, it was a library book. Oh dear. And then I went on to finally finish Some Like It Cold by Elle McNicoll, which is her new festive romance. And I absolutely love this. I was supposed to have finished this months ago, so I got it from NetGalley months ago. Like, I think like back in like March or something. And I started reading it, got probably like a third of the way through, and then my battery died on my e-reader, and it had already like been archived on NetGalley, and I was past like the date of like the loan on the e-reader, so it was gone. I could not get it back. And I was like, oh no, it's gone. I'm gonna have to wait for it to come out now. And then I was on NetGalley to download a book that I had been given access to more recently, and I clicked onto like my like whatever the page is where it's like download the books you can download, and Some Like It Cold was on there, and I was like, what? This got archived already. I thought this got archived already, but no. I don't know if I just like got it wrong, or if they unarchived it once it had been archived. Like they got the date wrong for when it should have been archived, and they brought it back because it's only just come out, right? So I don't know why it was like archived so long ago. But yeah, so after months of me being annoyed I could not finish reading this book, it was back and I could download it. Unfortunately, I couldn't just sort of pick up from where I'd left off, because I just thought like I'm not giving this book a full opportunity for me to kind of fall into it and get emotionally engaged if I don't start over from the beginning, because I knew that like it was really like I knew there was a lot of time like kind of like building up the character details and getting used to who everybody is in this town. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to start over from the beginning. And no regrets. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so great. It's about a young autistic woman. She's in her second year of university, I think. She's been away for like 18 months. From her hometown, which is this beautiful, gorgeous, picturesque, friendly, welcoming community called Lake Pristine. And her family are from there. They're one of sort of like the wealthier families. I think they literally own the lake. Yeah, she has been part of this community all her life, and she loves it. But her parents basically told her that she could only live in their house if she did what they wanted, went to the university they wanted her to go to, and studied what they wanted her to study. Otherwise, you know, they would cut her off. She'd be out in the world on her own. So she's come back for Christmas, but also to say goodbye, because she's decided that she hates her university course and she doesn't feel comfortable there at all, and she wants to study interior design instead. So yeah, she's there to say goodbye, but this guy who she's always had a weird relationship with, they've always like bickered a lot, not in like a really like grr way. They're not like enemies, but they have never got on well. Is there, and things start to change. He's making a short film about the community, and her sister's getting married, and she's got all this other stuff to do, like put on a ballet performance, and yeah, it was just lovely. There's like a lot of like friend drama in this, which I think is very true to life. Like, they are all just basically like teenagers. They're like 19, 20-year-olds, you know, like everything is still quite intense at that age. And yeah, it kind of deals with her relationship to people who she hasn't seen in a while, and her relationship to her family, and how that's changed, and how her thoughts on that have changed. Anyway, I loved it. I keep having to leap things from my memory card because there's not enough space, so I'm going to stop now. And yeah, speak to you early in November when I'll be wrapping up this vlog. Hello! I am here to share my tally. As previously mentioned, I am not doing like a countdown as I remove books on my TBR having read them, because I don't know how many books are on my print TBR. They're not all in one place, and I would consider it a massive, massive method of procrastination to count them all. I feel like that time would be better spent, because it would take me hours, actually reading books and getting them off my TBR. This may change once I get to a smaller number. Once they are all in one place, I may just give in to temptation and count them all. But for now, we are just tallying up the books and the different sources I read them from, and how many books I have read for this TBR Zero project as a whole. So, in this month, month 16 of my TBR Zero project, I read 13 books. 4 were from Audible, finishing off my Audible Plus Catalogue TBR Zero sub-project. 3 were TBR print books, 2 were audiobooks on Spotify, 1 was a library ebook, 1 was a library audiobook, 1 was from NetGalley, and 1 was a library print book. I have now reached 80 print books on my TBR read during the TBR Zero project, so that is a very nice round number. I'm very, very excited about that. But I feel like in month 16 I could be doing better, but now I am free of Audible. I am hoping that will be the case in short order. I'm really hoping that this drives me on to get those print books read and get that TBR down a lot more. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you didn't do so when I asked you to earlier in the video. You will see me again soon. Bye!